Hello, everyone, and welcome to Talks Ambition, the podcast here at Team Ambition, where we talk about mostly everything League of Legends. My name is Moose, and I am joined here today by an illustrious panel of podcasters. First, we've got the man, the myth, the guy with a cat on his profile picture. It's Gordo. Gordo, how are you?
I'm doing good, Moose. Thanks for bringing me on today. I'm excited to chat about League and League-related activities.
You know, you could have gone you're like royalty here. Uh as anyone has anyone ever given you flack like here in Team Ambition? If they are, then they're sorely mistaken.
I don't think so. I think I've looked back at the really old TA main team Discord, and before I even got on board, I saw some of the players didn't know who I was, and that's about it.
All right, fair enough, fair enough. Okay, and of course we've got the one and only Deity. It's Deity. Deity, how are you?
I'm glad you said my name right the second try. Better
I
than
say it right.
next last podcast with
I
Red.
I That was a joke. It was a joke. It was an elaborate ruse, and and I would do it again. No regrets.
True.
But yeah, things have been going well for you. Any new updates? Anything coming up that you're excited about?
Yeah, I've been watching a fair bit of the LCS, which is something we'll cover, and I recently hit my peak in solo queue, which is pretty cool.
What's your peak? It's Diamond 4?
No. I've always been a low elo shitter, but recently I've started climbing through the ranks since I got a new PC. I'm like P4 55 LP, and it's like I know it's not that high of a rank, but I like started this season like Silver 3, so excited to start climbing the ranks now.
Hey, congratulations though. That's a big accomplishment. So good for you, and I'm excited to see what rank you do end the season with. I was more alluding to your birthday that's coming up.
Oh.
You're gonna be what? You're gonna be what? 15?
No, I'll actually be 20, believe it or not.
Ooh, now I feel really old.
Ooh, in
That,
six
that makes
days,
me
yeah.
feel old. Oh, 6 days?
Mhm.
What do you want for your birthday? What's your
Seraphine
wish list?
skins, honestly.
All
That's all I
right.
need.
All right. All right. Well, we'll have to see what we can do. Uh, anyway, we've got a special guest here today. We've got the one, the only, the masterful, zephyrful, beautiful Wind is here. Wind, how are you?
Doing good, Moose. It's always a pleasure to have you around. You're always a bunch of joy. We've done some casts together. It's really fun, so I'm excited to join you and Gordo and Deity on the podcast here today.
Now, what has been the best part of casting with me?
The clown fiestas. They don't do it like any other elo. Gold, I just every time we cast, I try to go into a point because I'm usually the color, and before I can even finish a sentence, they're already fighting again. So more time for you to talk, less time for me to embarrass myself, and it's always fun to watch action. Who doesn't like Action League?
Why are you
Who
running
doesn't
down the
like
background?
Action League? That's for sure. All right, so now that we've introduced the panel, we're going to go into a quick icebreaker that I want to just ask all of you guys because we talked to Deity was talking about a little earlier was
I'm on the
saying that
podcast.
they are
Go
looking
full.
to, improve their standings in ranked. Gordo is like grandmaster or something like that at this point, and
Not
Wind's
true.
Wind's but I want to know if you could remove one mythic item from the game, which one would it be?
Oh, am I first?
You can be.
All right, I don't want to be. Here, it's got to be. I'm just gonna go with the easy answer. It's got to be Moonstone Renewer, right? Every time Moonstone Renewer is good, it feels real bad. It means enchanters are good. It means that it's harder to get fights started. It means that sustain is good, and these are all things that I enjoy. League of Legends as like a spectator product as much as, if not more, than as an actual video game that I play. And I play jungle these days, so I don't even get to build Moonstone Renewer when it's good. So I'd pick that one.
You're telling me that you don't play Ivern in the jungle and go
I don't.
Moonstone Ivern?
No,
Hmm.
I am telling you that. I'll go on the record with that.
Neither do I.
No,
Neither do
zero
I.
Ivern games played this season.
Zero Ivern games. Now, now recently, like, in some of the master level games, and I think even like not in this summer split, but even in season 12, like in the LCS, Moonstone Renewer was very popular and it was sometimes played in the mid lane. Seraphine Moonstone Renewer, you can go Karma Moonstone Renewer. It's it's an APC item sometimes.
Swain Moonstone Renewers are my favorites, actually.
So Wayne, I've not seen that yet.
That's the
I'm
dark
not
pack.
gonna lie.
Mandate Moonstone Sway, you could do either or. It's pretty nasty.
Oh yeah, Wind is a straight Swain abuser.
What
dude.
about you? What about you, Deity? Any mythic item that you just absolutely loathe?
Hmm. One that I loathe. I kind of hate Leandries because I'm a top laner. I play a lot of tanks, and when they start building Leandries, like especially like a Lilia top or something, when they don't go Rift Maker, it's just like it's just hell, man. Because all my health keeps burning away slowly. Brand champ
Mm.
needs to be removed too at this point.
Brand needs to get removed?
Yeah, dude, that guy does way too much percent health damage.
I mean, you're not wrong, but I don't know about that. I don't know if Brand needs to be removed. It's a little mean.
Brand was my first champion. I was a Brand main. Like the first time I ever got to plat, I was playing Brand mid lane.
I don't think we can
Nice.
talk anymore, Gordo. Like it's not personal, but it kind of is.
Listen, I don't play him anymore. It's more because he's like forced to be a support now post like nuke. This was like old passive Brand when Pyroclasm couldn't bounce to yourself. If that makes it better. I don't know if that makes it better or worse.
Fair enough. Fair enough. What about you, Wind? What about you, Wind? Any mythic items that just you hate?
It's a no-brainer. I'm a mid lane player. I play a lot of mages. Also got like Theona Yasuo in there. These little ADCs and their Gale Force, the stupid dash they get, I cannot stand it. It is the worst feeling when I try to EQ with my NATO as Yasuo and this little ADC Gale Forces away. Or you're trying to go for a one-shot as a mage and they Gale Force out of your stun right before it connects. And it's the most frustrating thing ever. And it reminds me of old Stridebreaker, where instead of it using offensive dash, it's a defensive dash, and champs who don't have a dash should stay that way. Jinx should not get a dash for free. Vayne already has a little bit of a tumble, but Kog'Maw as well. Champs like this, why do they have a dash? We need to remove this item ASAP. ADCs need to be able to get one shot.
Preach. Preach. Absolutely right. As a Nocturne player, I was very unhappy that they took the dash away from Stridebreaker and they kept it on the Gale Force. It was so mean. I was heartbroken. I was heartbroken for sure. But for
Feel you,
me,
man.
yeah. But for me, my pick, what I want to see getting rid of, and it's because of what's going on in the PBE now with Heckin' Master Yi and his stupid Q that's getting reworked. Duskblade of Drakkar. I cannot stand that item in the jungle because I always go up against Kha'Zix or Rengar or some stupid assassin that uses it and I can never kill him. I don't know how to handle it, but I'm also not a good player, so take that for what you will.
Fair. I played
Or
against
respectful.
Masters Kha'Zix last night in Clash, and he went like 21-1 building Duskblade. And when I'm playing Malphite, I'm like 6-0 because they decided to blind pick Darius. Kind of feels bad when the full lethality champion just one shots me, anyways. I don't know,
Mhm.
bro. Not very fair to me, at least.
Not fair gameplay here on Summoner's Rift. But with that being said, though, thank you guys for sharing your minds and appreciate you guys giving me your insight on what you hate and what you enjoy. Or I guess what you hated and that's what you enjoyed. But let's move on. Let's talk about Amateur Worlds. Coming to a close today with the Platinum Worlds. Gordo, you and I were on it last week to conclude finals. I mean, how was your experience with it?
It was great. I really enjoyed being a part of the event. I think, we had our share of difficulties on the like casting and production side. Not casting as in like shoutcasting, but casting as in like figuring out who's going to be on the broadcast. Um, Luckily on this show, between me and you, Moose, I think we actually covered every game of Gold Worlds. So we got the full range of gameplay covered there. But yeah, no, it was a really fun event. The CB versus CB final was super fun. The build up to it was really good as well. We had a 5-game semifinal over on the Aegis stream, which was
Mhm.
wonderful and miserable and all the things that a best of 5 that goes to 5 games can and will be, especially in gold. But it was super competitive, and I think it was a great kind of beta test for what I'm sure will be like a crazy fun, great event in the future too.
100%. Yeah, like, for me, like I enjoyed it because of what it meant. It was a collaboration with a bunch of different communities and a bunch of different players and casters coming together to actually play. Um Wind, Didi, did you guys have a chance to watch any of the of Gold or IBS?
Oh, well, I actually played in gold, albeit we did not make it far, but it
I'm
was
sorry that
fun.
I forgot. I forgot.
Um,
Well,
yeah, apparently my team lost to the full diamond team, or like they had 3 diamonds on it, and then they got removed, that Rising Tides team. We still didn't make it out of groups, but we tried our best. We had a valiant effort. We showcased our skills as players.
Yeah, I forgot the way I actually ended up on this show was Deity invited me after flaming the broadcast because we spent like a whole post game match or post match talking about how they had a double Moonstone comp and they did not go double Moonstone. He went Leandri's Seraphine.
I was probably coping a little bit after my loss, but yeah, I did kind of go off on that broadcast.
I didn't say it, to be fair. I was sitting there silently, just trying to not. You know how it is, Moose. Sometimes something gets said wrong on the show, and it's like the whole show can't be everybody correcting each other, so you let it slip. But then it's being discussed for like 10 minutes straight, and you're like, oh no.
Yeah. 100%. It what was really tough for me, like in terms of like not just in terms of what we saw on the team that just kind of bullied their way into amateur worlds, with Rising Tide Seagulls, but like what was really hard for me was having to try to figure out a way to kind of handle all of what was going on behind the scenes. Like that was, I think, one of the hardest parts for me was just trying to figure out what exactly was going on within the broadcast side of things. Who was my co-caster going to be? All of that fun stuff. Like that was my biggest comment, and I'm not afraid to like discuss kind of my. I'm kind of not my kind of, but like my dissatisfaction with how this particular worlds played out. Like I get that it was the first time, and I get that there was this sort of like not animosity, but there was this like anxiousness that was coming with it. But I definitely felt like it could have been a lot better than what it was.
Yeah, I think I'd agree with that for sure. And I think especially like the being unsure who your co-caster is going to be on a given day, stuff like that. I think a lot of that comes from you want to they wanted to have a really big cast, they wanted to have two sets of casters and hosts and everything like that. And they were running it on a pretty slim budget as well, and all those things kind of coalesce and make it a little tougher to be able to put on a good show. I'm curious if what changes they'll make for next time around, because I know a lot of the organizers are already well aware of where it fell short in some ways and are definitely looking to make changes. So I'm excited for next time.
And
Sure.
the interesting thing is when I was watching finals, the overlays were not actually like updating. Like they kept showing damage to champions in fights, and they were all just 0. And then I was so confused because none of the overlays on the world streams were working at all. Like they were all just like not updated or something. I don't know what was going on.
Yeah, some of that is I know I remember being a part of some of that. It's like the applications that they use to like create those things have been like really buggy lately as well. I'm not really sure if that's on those devs or if that's on Riot messing stuff up again. But neither would surprise me. That happens a lot for sure.
So like, and I think like in terms of world and in terms of like coordinating things and things like that, Wind and Deity, you guys are involved in what TA does. What do you think you would recommend to the the group of organizers for Amateur Worlds to make it maybe a better experience next time? If you have any thoughts.
Do you want to go first, or do you want me to go first?
Would you like to go first?
I have no preference.
Okay, I'll go first then.
Okay.
I think there wasn't enough planning and organizing things beforehand because as you were saying, like you didn't really find out like who was your like co-host or like your co-caster until it was like pretty late, right? Like maybe they should have figured out like more like I guess solid planning sheets and like things that you can look at that just let you know this kind of information beforehand. Seems like it was a bit of a clusterfuck in terms of that kind of information. And I think other casters are also talking about how confused they were at different like stages of the Amateur Worlds like broadcast.
Yeah.
Interesting. I think for me, I'm kind of using this as like an example, but like for our tryouts that we do at TA, like I've led the last two so far, and I think the last one went better than the one previously. It's a lot about just understanding and having like-minded goals between your staff, like set out like what are you wanting to accomplish. You want to do it early enough to where you can have some discussion about it because when you hop into something, especially like as bold as Amateur Worlds was, and I'm really glad like the success that it's had, just because the timing was a little funky, but it was still like really well managed. But having more time to be able to discuss what is it that we actually want to accomplish, like as the committee, like what is the goals going into this? Is it just same worlds formats because they did follow the actual League worlds format, but there is some creativity that I think they can enter put in. I know the gap between when Amateur Worlds was played into now the split that we are in summer was a little short, but things like double elimination would be pretty cool to see. Just to have teams have more of leeway in being able to play more and give us more content. Again, casters have mentioned a lot about just not hearing things last minute. So I think the best thing that I would do if I was on that staff and I had participated is you just reflect and you ask a lot of questions. You ask both the teams and the organizers and the org owners, like, what is it that we did good? What is it that we did bad? And what is it that you want to see next time? And you kind of incorporate that into your game plan. And you can even see it on the big stage. Whereas this year, Riot has kind of opened the door to potential double elimination themselves in actual world events and even MSI events. So it's a very realistic future, whether it happens or not. The people don't want to break integrity, but there's a lot of what ifs that happen in all competition. If this team had one more chance, if this team had gotten a stronger start in the beginning. So sometimes you're not able to lock full potential, but sometimes that's just the beauty of competition and single elimination.
For sure. And I don't want to like, and this wasn't a hey, I want to bash on Amateur Worlds because it was really really fun to be able to do, right? Like it was an experience that I've never had the opportunity to do before. I've never thought that I would be able to, see so many different organizations come together and say, "Hey, make a let's make a tournament out of this and let's see what we can do in terms of our, in terms of what our skills are as a unit." And if we continue to do that, I think we're going to find that the amateur scene is going to get a lot better and it's going to stay a lot more consistent because that is exactly what we have to do if we want the amateur scene to continue to grow and continue to develop. So, you know, opportunity for us to improve, opportunity for players and for organizers and for everybody involved to get better. So really excited to see how the next Amateur Worlds is going to be played out. But we do have to finish this one today. You know, we have the or the platinum finals coming in. Best of luck to both of the teams and all the talent, all the coordinators that are there, because it's going to be a ton of fun. Anyway, though, with that being said, let's move on. Let's kind of talk about the next big thing that's going on in League of Legends right now, which is, you know, the LCS and Worlds and things like that. And, you know, Deity was talking about him being able to improve as well. There's all of this opportunity in the air with the durability patch, with the new LCS split to get better. And Wind, you're someone that's very passionate about being able to get players better as players, as shout callers, as drafters, and I really want to talk about all of those and, you know, how you fit in to, or how you fit this new experience or this new season into growing yourself as a better player.
Yeah, for sure. I think I started my league journey at the end of season 5, and I know what it's like to be very low. I talk with a lot of people actually, just because I like to network a lot and especially just talk from ranks. So all the way from silver to challenger, and I find that I'm kind of actually like in a little bit of a weird limbo because I tell people and they don't believe me, but like I used to be bronze 5, -3 LP at one point, like actually the lowest possible rank you'd be. And when I talk to people who are around my rank, low masters, high diamond, they tell me that they started in silver, gold. So I feel like my experience is very different from the others because I know what it's like to be down in the trenches and wanting to climb and experience. And I took a year off of the game in season 7 to play Overwatch. I hit masters in Overwatch, and the game kind of fell off for me at the end of the year. And I came back to League. And if you leave League for a couple months, even almost a year, I think all of you would know this, but even a month, like the game is completely different. Same concept, but meta's changed, new champs come out, and I came back to a completely different game, but I really put improvement over anything else. The biggest thing to understand is that losing is learning. It's a kind of a universal thing. You learn more when you lose than when you win, but it's really how you apply yourself on losses. And biggest thing that I personally did is just ask questions. Always wonder, you know, what could you have done better, even in your highlight reel plays? What could you have possibly done better? And I find myself nowadays asking a lot of questions to not just people above me, but you can get good information from people who are the same rank as you. Even those below you, other eyes are always really good. So being able to ask the questions, ask the right questions, and knowing what it is that you need to focus on is the betterment to making yourself a better player.
Yeah, definitely like for me as like a caster, for example, I am always trying to I'm always trying when I'm casting, and especially when I'm casting gold level games or even, you know, platinum master level games, I'm trying to be critical in a way that doesn't sound like me being an asshole. It's easier said than done. But you know, there are some games and there are some, you know, there are some plays that players make that, you know, I completely disagree with. And having your games casted, having your games casted effectively is a great tool as well. And I encourage players and I encourage coaches and I encourage teams to, you know, take the opportunity that they can to get their games casted and, you know, look at what the four eyes are saying, you know, to potentially find a way to get better, because that's the only thing that you can do is just try to find a way to get better and hopefully find yourself in an opportunity to where you do have that chance to maybe make it to the next level.
I 100% agree with that sentiment. Um, Obviously, a little bit of a self promotion, but we are on a TA podcast. But ever since the beginning of the year when I took over as director of esports here, the big thing I always tell every player that comes in is like, I don't care if you win your league or not. What I care about is by the end of it, like, are you going to be a rank higher than you started out as? And uh, you noticed, like, if you've been around the TA for a while, like, we have some really distinguished players. I think Dallas is the first one that comes to mind. Shout out to him. When I joined back in August to play for TA, before I even took over as director, Dallas was about to win a gold league, or he had just won a gold league with TA Nova in the first AGL split. And if you look at him now, he's diamond. And I got to have the privilege of coaching him last APL with TA Valor. We made a semifinals appearance. And he's come so far from what I've noticed, and a lot of other players have as well. So being able to see that is just so much better than the 15 seconds of winning a championship. Obviously, being a champion, no one can take that from you, but being able to actually improve and being a part of someone's improvement, I prefer that over winning a championship any day, personally, as both a coach or a player. I think just watching people around you improve, especially when you're able to influence them and help them out, is just such a rewarding feeling that I highly suggest that if anyone actually wants to take their league like Pat seriously, like, it's rewarding. Anything that you do and you're able to see your progress visually, it is just miles infinitely better than winning anything.
I definitely agree with the kind of reference to organized play being a great way to improve. The highest ranks I ever hit and the best I ever was at the game were always in college, where I was playing in these kind of local tournaments with like groups of friends. Like my school would host them, and trying to win those tournaments and make deep runs there really was a great external motivator. And that's a great way to kind of force yourself to stop arguing with children and like play the game with good mental, which at least for me was always a big hurdle and still continues to be a big hurdle. Where if I'm just kind of playing without really thinking about it, it's very easy to get sucked into just flaming randoms and not actually focusing on improving, and that always makes you worse.
No way. Gordo with bad mental.
Ooh.
I have the
I've-
worst mental in solo queue. Actually, I have my chat turned off now. That's just I have to do it.
It's the power
Oh.
move.
100% agree. I don't remember
It's for
which-
me as much as it is for the randoms. It really is.
Yeah. I don't remember who told me this. I don't remember what YouTube video it was, what guide it was, but the best advice that I've ever gotten climbing in solo queue has been to mute your goddamn all chat, mute your goddamn team chat, and communicate through pings. You do not need to talk. You are not there to coach another player while you're playing. You're not there to tell them that they did a good job or that they did a bad job. You are there to perform at your best 100%. And I have had a much more stable experience playing League of Legends without the chat enabled, which is why, I was perfectly fine with chat not being part of League of Legends, disabling all chat, because in Heroes of the Storm, that's where I got most of my MOBA experience, was back in Heroes of the Storm days. There was no all chat. There was no way to communicate with your opponent in a game unless you had them on your friends list and you said, "Hey, I'm playing with you," ha ha ha, kind of thing. There was no way to speak in all chat, and you knew that there was no way for them to talk to you as well, and that was kind of like a freeing feeling, I guess.
Yeah, that was I don't remember whose take it was, but I remember somebody had like a take on Twitter that was like, it's a lot of people really viscerally reacted to them removing all chat, but it's like, inside you there are two wolves, and one of them likes to argue with children and the other knows that that's not what's best for your mental and your performance, and you need to not give in to that one to actually do better. And so I was kind of in favor of the change too. I guess they ended up backing out on it, but it's I actually do think like even a lot of the people who say that they wanted to keep it would have ended up enjoying the game more if that change went through.
For sure. And I mean, like, I think League of Legends is a very complex game, but it's what somebody told me. His name is Genkal. He's actually part of TA. But a big thing, like, he told me the biggest thing that you can do in League of Legends is just keep on focusing on your own inconsistencies, and you're the only consistent variable in your games. Um, he says like what he told me was other people play in your elo and they can just like climb right through with like a 90% win rate, right? Because they know what their opponents are doing wrong and what they should be doing. It's like you just need to focus on yourself and don't put so much emphasis in your teammates because they're not people or things you can control. You can't really teach them the game in one game, you know, like just not worth your time. Your mental like brain power is your own resource, right? It's about effectively utilizing that and how that helps you win games. I think that's a really important part of it as well.
100%. Now, I wanna ask all of you, and I guess specifically Wind as well, because Wind has had the opportunity. You started in bronze, and you've climbed all the way up to some of the highest heights that you can within the League of Legends community. I don't think anyone here would disagree that a diamond player is at least decent at the game.
Put some respect on my name. I hit Masters for the first time this year. Finally
Okay,
broke
yeah,
through.
well, even more, even more. A Masters player is not a half bad player.
Yeah, I mean, I would love to talk about Ginkle for a second and just give like a lot of love to him. So, I have a not the best mental in the game. Okay, when I'm on one, I'm on one, and I think a lot of it, stems from just how I'm feeling. Uh, get some motivation, get some not, and the confidence that I go in with. And I played collegiate. I've played against grandmaster players, held my weights. Felt really good. Like I know that I definitely wasn't a diamond player, but I was stuck in diamond. And even this season, I went from demoting into plat. Like I demoted into plat 2 or 3 times already this season, but uh, I was just masters. I demoted out because gains were really bad. So I'm just kind of sitting right now, D191. But
Mhm.
the big thing is when Diamond Shrouds came around, I was plat 1 at the time, and I worked with Ginkle. Ginkle is the coach for my team, TA Dynasty. He is a Grandmaster player, and we just kind of talked a little bit about what was going on with my game and how he felt. And I have actually never been coached until Ginkle came along, and I've been playing this game till the end of season since the end of season 5. So I've never been coached. I was all self-taught myself to diamond, high diamond as well, and I could never break through that masters. I felt like I had almost plateaued in a way, like on my own. I'd gone as far as I could have just by myself, and I needed to start outsourcing a little bit. So when I got selected to be a part of TA Dynasty, um, Gaincool, who is a mid lane player, really worked, and he just identified a very, very select few issues. And I went from Plat 1, which is where I started in tryouts, and then not even a month later, I was at Masters for the first time ever. And it was just small adjustments. It was just behaviors that I do. A big habit that I have is like I'll walk up for no reason and just like hit the turret and just disrespect like where jungle position is. Or it's like, if I don't do that, save myself a death, save myself, 30, 40 seconds where I'm not collecting any XP, any gold at all. And it's like you come to realize that mechanics literally do not matter like at this game at all. Like flashy plays are really cool. You get to watch people like P Zhang and they terrorize the Rift. Rel King comes to mind as well. And most notably like Caps as well in terms of pro play. But you can literally play the game like Bjergsen does, and you can just play mages. And if you're just smart enough, you'll just naturally win. There's a reason that Dia was talking about earlier where I can go and smurf, and if I'm really on one, I could turn my brain off and still be up 35 CS on my mid lane opponent because
Mhm.
I'm just doing small things that I know are going to give me advantages. And that's really what league players need to hear at all ranks is you're actually good enough to hit challenger. Everyone is good enough to hit challenger, but it depends on how much you work at it and identifying your flaws and how to fix them. And you have to be consistent on it. And I'll tell you, I am my greatest enemy in terms of beating myself up over stupid things that I do. Whether it be scrim, match, solo queue, custom game, normals. If I do something stupid, I'll tell myself I'm doing something stupid. And the big thing that I always tell myself is don't listen to my teammates. Every scenario that you have is something that you should do on your own volition. And I'll never forget Natsu, who was our challenger top laner for UCF, the university that I attend, University of Central Florida. He told me about a TP scenario, and I asked him, should I TP here or not? And he goes, well, should you TP here? It's your TP. You should decide how to use it. And it was in that example I realized that everything that you do should be on your own volition. You should never let someone tell you how to play the game. You should do everything that you do based on you wanting to do it. And if you don't want to do something, then just don't do it. And that's why I also mute and solo queue, because people will ape out and try to make me do stupid things, and I won't go along with it because I know that they're wrong. And when it ends up not working and I get pinged, I don't care because I'm the one who's going to carry. I'm the best player in the game. Confidence. And I'm going to propel myself to carry all 4 of you across the finish line and get myself LP because I don't belong in your elo. I belong higher than you do.
Hell yeah. Well said. Well said. I wanna like touch on something that you said really quick about habits, because I just finished a book a couple of weeks ago that literally called The Power of Habit by Charles Duhigg. Um Definitely would recommend it to anyone who wants to improve upon, any aspect of your life. The best way to improve upon things is to improve by habit. And there's a story in the book talking about a football coach who worked for the Buccaneers in the early 2000s, and then he was the coach of the Colts when they were at their highest point. I forget his name now. His name is escaping me, but his story I remember. Um, he goes in and he talks about how the best way, or one of the best ways you can play football, in his opinion, is by building the correct habits so that when something comes to, or when something comes up, you're already there. So like creating creating these certain triggers, like seeing these triggers that are on the field, and then when you see that trigger, you just immediately know what to do. It's all about saving brain power at that point. You do not want to use your brain, because if you use your brain, it's much more mentally taxing to have to continuously think about every single move that you do. So like if you're in lane and you're really focusing in on making sure that you hit every single minion, it's going to be a lot harder and it's going to be much more mentally taxing for you to do that than it is to understand that when the minion wave is in this specific position, this is how you handle it with your champion. And just training that over and over and over again so that you can get those certain triggers completed. And so then when you get into that game, you're doing that every single time. You don't have to worry about it, and you have great CS. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. The best example in the jungle is your first jungle route. Like, most times your jungle route is not going to change. Like, it shouldn't change. It should be a consistent play. If you're playing Talia, for example, you're probably going to start at blue. You're going to do blue Grump Wolves. You're going to do Raptors red, and then that is then when you take the control of the board. Like, I'm not thinking about my lanes until I get my red buff, until I am at least level 3, if not level 4, so that I can go in and make those ganks. I know I can do a gank at level 2, but if I try to do something that is going to, really mess me up, it's just not going to be good, and we're not going to play well. So just building the correct habits, staying consistent with them, and not thinking so much, and just building off of instinct is going to help you, I think, become a better player overall. I don't know if that makes sense. Like, I think I'm rambling a little bit now, but regardless.
No, I think it's really well said, personally. I think the coach you're talking about, by the way, was Tony Dungy. A very, very great legend. And
Yeah.
one last thing, since we are on the topic of football, I've grown up with football, and there is a very, very legendary coach for anyone who knows football by the name of Bill Walsh, and he made a very famous book that I've read excerpts from. It's called Finding the Winning Edge, and it's pretty much regarded as the handbook for any professional coach in terms of how to coach a team and what goes into winning. Bill Walsh, coach of the Niners during the Joe Montana, Jerry Rice days, very, very, very legendary guy. And in that book, it talks a lot about kind of what you have to give up and what you need to show just as a coach, and the mindset that goes into it. And you have to have the winning mindset from the start to the end, and it's all about the journey, because if you ever waver, that's your moment of weakness, and you can get taken advantage of. And there's a lot that I think goes into League, and just like anything else, but confidence is always going to be the one thing I preach to everybody. If you're not confident in your game, you simply just can't get better. You have to be confident enough to play at the level that you want to play at and to reach that level.
100%. Totally agree. Totally agree. So, with that being said, though, let's talk about some players that have made it all the way to the tippy top of the A list in terms of League of Legends. It is LCS season once again. There have been, I think it's 2 weeks of plays so far. Some really great games. Couple of upsets, but LCS is in full swing now for this summer split. Gordo, I know you've been keeping tabs on things. Any surprises? Anything that you're really like, hey, that was pretty good, or hey, you guys are shit?
Well, there's always some of both of those. But yeah, no, I pride myself on keeping tabs on all 4 levels of the NA pro scene. So LCS, always at the top of that, try to never miss a game whenever I can. And CLG, I think, has been, that's the big story so far. They're about to play Evil Geniuses as we're recording this, so they are at 3-1 right now, which, given how poorly their spring went, it was definitely a surprising result. The only change them making is bringing Dokla into the top lane. And that's just been really cool to watch. I really, I wasn't the biggest fan of this roster coming into the season, given that it's I like that it's all academy players, but the fact that it's all academy players and nobody is eligible for rookie of the split, I think kind of says a little bit about the direction they were going in. But, some of those guys are only technicalities, though, particularly Luger and Poom, and now Dokla having made such big steps up as well. I'm really happy to see these guys starting to be successful with like a really NA-focused roster. And I want to, between them and the success that Evil Geniuses showed in spring, I think it speaks a lot to the entire ecosystem getting stronger and us starting to actually spit out some serviceable young North American talent, which I think is going to be critical if we ever want to like take the steps that Europe already took and be competitive internationally.
Fair enough. I want to talk about TSM.
Ooh.
I know it's
boy. All right.
it's like I just want to rip the Band-Aid off, because I for one believe that this split, like, in terms of what's going on within the company and what's going on within the organization, like let's be real, like something like this was bound to happen eventually. Like it wasn't ever going to not happen. It was an inevitability where an organization or an owner or a coach or whatever that may be was not putting their players first and was looking to be the best team instead of doing the best work for that team, if that makes sense. Like it was, I think, more of a legacy standpoint in the upper echelon or upper management of TSM. For the players and for the organization that is continuing to play at TSM, do you think that they are playing as well as they can? Do you think that there's anything that they can do to improve? And what steps do they need to take moving forward?
I'll talk first. I think the answer is no. And I think it's pretty as clear as it can be from the outside that Spica's on his way out. He's done with the organization and doesn't want to deal with it anymore. He's flaming the draft today on Twitter immediately in the post game. There was a lot of that kind of stuff going on last split as well. And whether you think it's justified or not, I think I find it difficult to believe that the people on this team are putting in like their 100% full effort, like they think they can go and compete for a title. I think they're kind of waiting for the year to end and start the rebuild again.
Yeah, I have to agree with Gordo. I have a close friend actually who is really good friends with Spica, and he was telling me that Spica up until like the last week or two before LCS was just perma playing Valorant, and he only
Oh
started
boy.
playing League when he had to play scrims. And this friend of mine plays Valorant with Spica like a good amount. Like they duo queue a lot, and even last year, like they were playing like a lot of Valorant together. And I have to agree with the mindset of what Gordo said. It really looks like from public view that Spica is one foot out the window, but especially when I heard this, I was like, damn, like he's really just playing when he has to, and that's it. He does not want to be a part of this organization anymore. And just as a personal opinion, off the record from anything tier later, this is my opinion, but I have to tend to agree with him. The org has not done much to support him, and the stories that you hear, whether they are true or not, have a very negative connotation towards the brand of TSM. And the ideology of Reggie, at least from his tweets that I see, is that he just throws money at the problem and tries to fix it. Whereas you look at other owners like Jack and Steve, for instance, of C9 and TL, and yes, they do throw money at the problem, but they do handle things a little more cordially. Like the Steve and Double Lift situation, how they're still friends. Not sure about Jack and LS, for instance, or Jack and Summit, but there was more consideration and empathy that went into those breakups, right? So when you think about it like that, and then you look at obviously again, Double Lift is the prime example about Reggie and TSM, and even Lena. Um, you know, when you leave TSM, there's really not many nice things that you can say compared to when you depart from these other orgs, and a lot of it has to deal with Reggie. So, uh, whether or not Spica stays at TSM, what they're doing right now is definitely not a step in the right direction, as other orgs have done. And CLG, especially, who I believe we'll probably talk about, is starting to have a pretty good turnaround for what looked like a pretty dead organization for the past few years. So, good on Hotshot and all of the guys at CLG for their turnaround now.
Yeah, I do think, and don't get me wrong, TSM is kind of on fire, and the fact that they are on fire, not in a good way, is definitely, I think, contributing to some of those things. I do wonder where, if anywhere, responsibility does fall on Spica. We've seen these like young, promising North American players come up before, and thinking about players like Dardoch, who realize very early on that as a domestic star player, they have this immense value. And therefore, if they don't like how things are starting to go in their org, they can just phone it in and they know they'll have a job next split because they were born here and they don't take up an import slot. And if you want to build a competitive team, you need to find some players who don't take up import slots. So there might be some amount of that going on. And what really kind of sounds that alarm for me is, and I feel like I'm crazy because my friends and I seem to be the only people who talk about this. Do we remember in the preseason this team was going to speak Mandarin first? Like that was a big point for TSM, was they were going to import Kaiduo and Shenyi, and Spica already spoke Mandarin. And so the jungle mid support trio was going to be like a Mandarin first team, and they would get translations over to Huni and Tactical. And then the Chinese players showed up in week one. They're already speaking English, like in the VODs we saw from Lock In and in their TSM Legends videos as well. So I have no idea what happened there, but it also very much surprises me that that plan went belly up so quickly.
Something interesting I would like to bring up is I think around NA especially, we always talk about Spica being this like young, like new, like rookie talent, but he's been on the competitive scene since like 2017. Like he's been around is what I'm trying to say, and it's kind of crazy how like Tactical too. We see them as these young new prodigies that come from TSM or just like the competitive scene in general, but they're really not, and it's just like I'm kind of interested to see where their careers go from here. I don't think Spica's gonna last on TSM after this year. I don't think he would stay, and he might just go to Valorant at this point. Nobody knows, but I don't really think that they're rookies anymore. They're not new here. They've been around the scene for a while. I'm pretty sure Spica was on like fly. No,
He's on Echo Fox
Echo
Academy
Fox.
before he
Yeah.
was on TSM Academy. But like, I don't know. Like, I think Spica especially, like, Spica's one of those guys who got into the scene like super early age wise. So like when he was in scouting grounds, he was 15, I think, and then he starting in LCS at 18, and he's 21 now. So he is like, especially compared to this league, which is already the oldest league in the world, pretty much. He's still younger, but this is like you are correct though. Like this is his third competitive season now, so there's definitely something to be said for he's been around the block, and in other regions he wouldn't be considered this like young talent.
For sure. For sure. Like I'm still holding out hope for Golden Guardians and FlyQuest. Like kind of moving on from TSM a little bit. I think we've kind of hit the nail on the head there. Unless anyone has any other conversation that they want to talk about.
Yeah, no, I'm hyped for Golden Guardians and FlyQuest too. I'm glad to see some of the like lower budget teams be competitive. As much as I disagree with their approach in that I hate the tendency to go for like developmental imports when these academy players are starting to do so much better. And like when the major orgs start, a young domestic rookie they believe in, thinking about players like Spica, Blabber, Tactical, Fudge.
Jojo even.
Yeah, JoJo now, Danny, all these guys. Like when a good, well coached org starts a domestic rookie they believe in, they do great. So clearly it's not like the baseline being crazy different. At least that's how I feel. So I don't understand the decision to take chances on developmental imports, even the ones that have worked out, like Pride Stalker and Takui. Like it feels like
I
it fe-
disagree. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, I mean, and this is not to say that those players have not worked out great. I think they have, but I hate the tendency to go for them to try to like find the next Bjergsen or whatever. Why does it have to be the next Bjergsen? Why can't it be the next Blabber? Why can't it be a domestic rookie who comes up and is super successful? If we're already rolling the dice on a piece that we consider quote unquote developmental, I don't understand the tendency to go to Europe for it.
I disagree with the statement that Golden Guardian is a low budget team. I think they're putting in a lot of money for the long term. Because, remember they are Golden State Warriors. So and I have friends that are like super invested in Golden State's success kind of thing. They really do enjoy Golden State, and they've just built a brand new facility like near the Chase Center. I think maybe in the Chase Center, I forget. But like they are putting in an exorbitant amount of money into the equipment and the tools necessary in order to develop their talent. Now, I don't know if that's going to mean that they're going to be able to be talented here in this split. I don't know if that means that they are going to be able to get into a finals position, because I think that there are some really great teams that are going to be there. But I think FlyQuest and Golden Guardians at this point, if they continue on the trajectory where they're at, they are going to be very, very strong teams that are going to be able to, I think, compete within the next couple of years, if not next split.
Yeah. That's assuming that they keep this the what they've built and build on it though, because both of these teams have been here before. FlyQuest had that Santor and Power of Evil roster that was in finals and making worlds. Golden Guardians had the core that is now 100 Thieves, and they haven't been able to hold on to those players. So I hope that can change, and we can start to see some new blood build up over the years.
Fair enough. Makes sense. But I mean, with that being said, we are running a little bit out of time. I think it was a great conversation talking about the LCS, but let's move down a little bit, because Gordo, you and I, and Didi and Wind, like we're all invested in Proving Grounds and the open qualifiers that are coming in. Gordo, you and I are going to be casting here on TA tomorrow for TA Main and TA Sussy. Wind, how does it feel having two teams that could have a chance to make it into the Beacon and Proving Grounds this split? I mean, considering what happened last qualifier.
Look, I'm a fan of who's ever playing the best league right now, and I cannot tell you how happy Prots and I specifically, just like as more of like a personal standpoint, how happy we are to have anticipation back. When we talk about earlier in the year when we were first improving grounds, and we had the anti Nem 9 roster that went 3-2, made it through. That was such like an empowering thing for TA going into proving grounds to be able to accomplish. And the last proving grounds we put in 3 teams, none of them ended up qualifying, but we've learned a lot about what goes into it and how you have to have a balance between coaches and players and the type of investments that you put in. But when you talk about orgs going for, certain players and building off, like kind of how Gordo just mentioned about LCS, bringing someone like Anti back in is just like such an amazing feeling. Like Anti is like such an amazing player. He's such an amazing guy too. And I think we're all just like really happy to be having him under the TA banners again. And that's not to mention, the other 9 players that we're playing in. And I'm really excited as a mid laner as well to see DNA compete. And I've watched DNA just for a little bit. Haven't been super invested in the PG scene for like my entire time, probably like the past like couple months or so, ever since taking over as director. But DNA is definitely a name that I know of, and having players like that back, or not back, but in the system and being able to interact with them and have them compete like under your banners is just like such an awesome feeling and makes you like fanboy a little bit. So I think this proving grounds, I think speaking on just like learning from mistakes, I think Prots, myself, the rest of the staff, and Ray, I'm not going to leave Ray's name out of that conversation as well. Luis, that guy's the GOAT, by the way. Like, general manager for us now, well deserved promotion. And I think everyone has really learned a lot about what goes into a really good organization for proving grounds. And I think while on paper our team doesn't look the strongest, both of our teams don't look the strongest. I think the structure that comes in with it and just who we have here in personnel on TA and then what TA stands for is really going to propel us into a really good spot for this open qualifier.
Wind, how far do you see us going this time around?
Do you want the biased answer? Or do you want the more likely answer?
Try to be honest, I guess is the thing I'd want.
I think I see both teams honestly going 3-2. And I think Sussy gets bounced in the very first round, and I think Main makes it another round past. I think there is just a lot of deep rooted thing, and even before we started, we were all talking about kind of like the standings of PG, and Gordo was mentioning how a lot of the top level teams, it's not just about who their players are, it's about how long their players have been together. And obviously, we just got this roster, they have been playing together for the longest of time, but they have the firepower and there's the creativity of Luis and everyone else with drafting and just the way the game's played, that in these like best of ones, you're able to sneak games out and take games off of really solid opponents. So I think it's very likely for both teams to make it out of the qualifier and place top 16.
I see.
I know that is a expectation. Like, I was shocked to learn that TA did not make it out of open qualifiers last split. And I think that is a sentiment across the TA metaverse, like saying, hey, like there was a ball dropped, or maybe it just wasn't the best. It just wasn't the best matchups, or whatever that may be. But considering the growth and considering like what you guys were talking about just now about how important it is to continue to improve and continue to develop, I think that hopes are high for at the very least one team to make it into some, or to make it into, get it past the qualifiers, go 3-2 like you said. I am particularly excited for game 1 for TA Sussy. They're going up against Prodigies, Evil Genius Prodigies, and you don't get to play a game like this very often. You're going up against a team that I think is very well managed. It's part of a professional organization. They're going to have players and organizations and teams and coordinators that are going to help them out. um, this is going to be a really good test of what the limits of this particular team TA Sussy is. And to be able to have that opportunity to do that is not once in a lifetime, but it's something that I really want to see TA Sussy give it their all in this game one and potentially upset. I still think that the upset potential is there. Like, do not count out Sussy. Do not count out the squad. They are young, they are fresh, and with freshness comes creativity, and with creativity comes the opportunity to really make some plays happen. So I'm really, really excited for what TA Sussy has to offer.
Yeah, as Wind was referring to there, I think the seeding. First of all, seeding's so much better this tournament. Shout out to the new amateur committee that is responsible for allocating where all of what all the seeds end up being and all the votes that have gone through. And those have all been posted publicly as well for anyone who isn't aware, so you can go and check out how everybody ended up voting. Call out the ones you dislike, all those sorts of things. So that's been great. I love the culture that we've kind of built up around that now, where not only did they post them publicly, but immediately everybody just went, hey, tell me why you think I'm bad. Tell me what's wrong with it. And, encouraging that sort of public criticism is, I think, exactly what you want the environment to look like when we're talking about something like this, especially with some of the poorer seating decisions that I think certainly influenced the first OQ. But with that said, I was saying before we started recording that Team Ambition, I think, are seated perfectly correctly. Like the main team, I would not probably put them in the top 15, and that's not to BM them. That's to say that the top 15 teams are so good. And so that's why I'm really interested to see what the matchups end up being, because there's definitely some in the bottom 16 who have upset potential, right? Thinking about Fruit Basket Warriors, AoE Randoms, Here for T-Shirt, those kind of teams, I think definitely would not surprise me if they go 3-2 or something like that. So it's going to be very interesting to see what opponents Team Ambition end up playing. Round 1 is Bay State College. That's what we'll be casting on the mainstream tomorrow for the first round. And that's certainly going to be a great match that I have Team Ambition winning. So that's what we hope for in the start, for sure.
Definitely. 100%. 100%. Really, really excited to see how all of the TA teams both the TA teams that are in Proving Grounds are able to perform. It's going to be a ton of fun, and I'm really, really excited to be able to cast this one because I wasn't able to cast the last one. I wanted to so bad, but it was damn COVID. It was COVID giving me the old whatever you call it. But very, very excited to see how this round is going to go, and I have a ton of hope for the future of what TA is looking to bring to the table here. So best of luck again to the two teams that are going to be part of the amateur or the Proving Grounds, I guess, semi-pro scene here today or this week. It's going to be a ton of fun, and I'm really looking forward to seeing how it plays out. With that being said, though, we are reaching the end of our time limit here today. I want to thank all of you guys for taking some time out of your day to discuss some League of Legends topics, and hopefully you guys enjoyed the conversation, because I sure did. Before we go, though, is there anything that you guys want to highlight? Any updates? Any content that you guys are putting out that you guys want to talk about before we go?
When is the Proving Grounds again? Exactly tomorrow.
Tomorrow,
Grounds is
6 Eastern.
All right.
6
nice.
Eastern. You can check Gordo and Sulpin out on the main TA channel. You can check out me and Gigatron, hopefully. Shout out to him. Hopefully he is not too ill. Tomorrow on the secondary TA channel. And yeah, that'll be fun. I mean, you'll see me. I'm all across the amateur metaverse right now with Victoris and Aegis and a couple of other organizations that I hang out from time to time. But I get to go and enjoy myself and go to a gamer meetup over at the esports arena here. We're gonna do a Pride night, so that's gonna be a ton of fun.
Sounds exciting, Wind. I mean, Moose. And
Yeah, it's gonna.
sorry, Wind. Anything
Hi.
you'd like to leave the podcast with?
I think now that we have Moose casting the games, I think we'll be a lot more successful in Proving Ground. I think it was-
100%.
I think it was Moose debuff last time around, so
I feel like that's an
Of course.
indirect accusation because I cast not only all of the main team's games, but also a bunch of games for the other teams because we had so many mirror matches.
I have a soft spot for Moose Gordo. It has nothing to do with you. He's been so nice to me when we've casted. I even asked
No.
him afterwards.
No hard feelings.
Did I do anything wrong? Did I overstep my boundaries? But he's always a great sport about it, and he's taught me a lot about casting. But in terms of like things I want to shout out, we've posted a little bit about it in the TA server real quick, but we are planning on having a draft league for TA, and all of the winnings would go to charity. So we're trying to figure out dates and how we want to do it. But if you do, want to play some league with us, I know everyone loves their little draft leagues that happen around. So we're looking to do one for TA. I know we're potentially trying to do some TFT and ARAM tournaments as well. There's a lot more community-oriented stuff that we're trying to accomplish for the end of the year here at TA. So if you're interested in any of those, please stick around. And obviously, support our teams all the way from PG, even like through our gold teams as well. We love every one of you guys. And, thank you for taking your time out to listen to all of us as well.
Yep. And
Yeah.
with that being said, yeah, Gordo, any final thoughts?
Yeah, just shout out again to the TA streams tomorrow for PGOQs. Gonna be casting the main team there, and love seeing up and coming new talents. So shout outs to Scary Jerry and Crimson as well. I'm really hyped for them and see this new roster hit the Rift.
I love that name, Scary Jerry.
Andy Incher too as well. Turkey.
For sure, yeah. Andy Incher as well over on the Sussy side. Yeah, Scary Jerry, breakout star of CLOL this year, by the way. Anybody who didn't keep up with CLOL is going to be real surprised when Scary Jerry plays in this OQ.
Very impressed. Very impressed with what they've been able to do as well. Not saying that I'm like a Scary Jerry. I haven't watched every single one of his games, but I have participated in some CLOL casting action, so just very minimally. Anyway, with that being said, though, if you guys are enjoying the content that you guys are seeing here today, please feel free to drop a follow on the YouTube channel, drop a like or follow on the Twitch channel, a subscription if you guys are really, really liking the content here. If you guys want to be involved in anything TA, please do not hesitate to join the TA Discord to stay up to date with all of the content that we are seeing throughout the TA metaverse. And with that being said, on behalf of all the players, the coordinators, the staff, and everybody here at TA, I wish you guys all a fantastic rest of your weekend. Stay safe on July 4th if you guys celebrate. Definitely have a great time. And as always, take care. See you guys later.
Peace.
Later.